here. You're going to be actually heard on stream.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I tested it earlier with a call to make sure you could be heard. Okay. We're almost live.
Can I put the video on here?
Yeah, you can if you. I think. You're not going to be able to see me though. Maybe.
I can see you.
Let me see. Let me see what my. Okay. All right. You're going to be the only one that sees me this week. So there you go.
That works for you.
All right. I'm at least live on YouTube. And I know it's probably Ren watching. And I'm trying to go live on Facebook. It says maybe. I've got a big blue circle of death. And yeah, I've got internet access. So why aren't we? There we go. There it goes. Yay.
This little tablet on also.
Okay. So, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are talking about tarot. And I need to... Can you still see me? You can still see me. Good, good, good.
Yep.
The script is also on my phone, so... Okay. For many people, tarot means, especially a tarot reading, is a woman in long flowing robes, leaning over a small table, candlelit room, fortune-telling impeding doom, candles everywhere. This is movies. This is not how real tarot is. This is my tarot deck. It's one of 15, I think I have. The tarot really tells us what we're not paying attention to in our own lives. According to the position and meaning of the cards, it alerts us to what's going on in our lives that we're not paying attention to or we don't already know. Or we do know and we're just hiding from ourselves. That is the most important part of all tarot readings. One of the most common spreads is the Celtic Cross, and that's what we're using today. I'm being joined by my friend Mary. Say hi, Mary.
Hello there.
Okay. She's on the phone with me. We're going to do an over-the-phone reading, which is not something I'm really comfortable doing, but social distancing. So, there was reference to the cards since 1370, but not before. There is a great legend that says we as witches hid our fortune telling and playing cards so the Christians and those who persecuted us wouldn't know what we were doing. In fact, the opposite is true. In 1215, the first paper mills were created in Italy. In between 1356 and 1374, Petrarch writes a poem called I Trifoni. And this is a concept of a procession of allegorical figures triumphing or proceeding through the streets of a city like the Romans used to do when they would bring home their conquering generals. That's why it's called a triumph. This triumph begins to be known as a trump, as in spades. What trumps, right? Everybody knows what I'm talking about? I like this? Okay. So, the trump cards in this poem are classic generals that become not just generals, but god archetypes, and the virtues and the vices and the temptations. And these morph into the major arcana. So, in 1370, you have printing paper. And as early as 1370, you see Mamluk-style playing cards enter Italy and Spanish ports. And this is an Arabic design using swords, batons, cups, and coins. And the court cards represent emperors and queens and knights and their pages, otherwise known as the Jack, King, and Queen. So in Europe, through the 1400s, the European crown started going, wait. I should be a club. And therefore they became the baton, or they became the clubs, or they became whatever they decided to use. Rich households became coin. Households that were more interested in romantic love became the cups. And this is how the cups, oh, that wasn't very good. This is how the suits began to mean what they mean. coins became wealth because wealthy families chose coin. Swords became what they became because that's what the family they represented became. So people would order these cards to be made with the king and the queen with their likeness. And then, as early as 1392, a listing in the account book of Charles VI, King of France, refers to 3 packs of gilt and colored cards ordered from a painter. These regular playing cards were mistakenly associated with the tarot deck in Paris, and they were actually just common decks of cards, and they were used to play Trifoni, which is much like spades, with the idea that the generals, gods, virtues, vices, they actually became the trump cards. So they took trump and precedent, and they took whatever trick you were laying out. Otherwise, the highest card took it, because we all know the greatest in station goes to spoils. That's how that works. So through all of the 1400s, these cards began to take, let's do different takes on the same old playings, and this is where our stylized cards began to become different decks. Tarot were not actually called tarot; they were called Tarucci, which is a deck of which is an actual another game of cards, more like hearts than spades. So they didn't become actual fortune-telling cards until a game was played, which in... No, I lost it. It's called Tarucci. Sorry, I've got a lot of information here. In the 1500s, they would play games at parties called Tarucci Appropati. And this is a parlor game where you lay the cards out and you pick a card. And you show it to everybody, and they make up a poem about what that card says about you. This is a parlor game, and this is how tarot was built. Because the poems were then written down by your scribes, and that gave the meaning to the card. So all this stuff about tarot being this mystical, witches, we hide it in playing cards, that kind of thing, that's not where it started. It started as a parlor game, and then as the rich and the influential of Europe started going, I need psychics, because psychics were a big part of parlor games back then. Let's hold seances, let's hold these divination games. And the divination, the mediums would go, give me your cards, let me tell you what they mean. So as early as 1570, these cards were cheap. You could get them anywhere. So that happened through 1800s. In the 1800s, 1856, in Paris, there was a book published called Dogma of the Ritual of Transcendental Magic, where it talks about the importance of tarot to Western magic. From there, through the rest of the 1800s, you had many, many, many various styles and pictures painted, and the traveling circuses and everything that was popular in the 1800s, early 1900s. There was always the fortune teller with the robes and the masks and the veils, and that's where that image comes from. In 1917, the first book was written. It's called The Key of the Universe. And that is the book on the esoterically typical Rider-Waite and the Tarot of Marseille, which are the two most popular decks of tarot. And they were used all the way up through the 60s. And in the 60s and the 70s is when they started reprinting one of the older decks of tarots, and that is the Aleister Crowley deck, the Thoth deck, based on Egyptian gods. In 1969, they were first launched by US Game Systems, and mass published for the United States public, much with the Ouija board. And that is when they started being typically witchcraft based. So they weren't even really considered a pagan object until the 1900s, 1950s, 60s, 70s. So that being said, we are going to do some tarot readings. We're going to talk about how we make them work. So your first step is always you keep your thoughts open. Even if you have a question in mind, you always keep yourself open to what the cards have to tell you, because you may have a question all you want, but the cards are going to tell you what you need to hear, because that's what these are based on. Okay? So, Mary, I'm going to concentrate very hard on what I know about you and your life, and you're a very close friend of mine, so I feel like I know this pretty well. And you're going to concentrate on what you want the cards to tell you. And together, we're going to focus enough of our energy to cover the distance. And you're going to tell me when you feel like I've shuffled these cards enough to read you. Okay?
Okay.
And the second is, when you're reading these cards, and I'm giving you detail, and I say something like, there's a man in your future, you don't go, oh, that can't possibly be true. Because that's not keeping an open mind, and these cards are, all cards are symbolic. They do not go, this guy's name's going to be Fred, and he's going to have red hair. That's not how this works. That's not a thing. Also, you should focus on you, not your daughter, not your children, your spouse, your cat. And I don't really care what you should be focusing on you and how the meaning of these cards focus on your life. There's a reason the cards talk about your world, not our world, not the world outside. And stay neutral. Even if you have a question, it should not be, am I going on that blind date next Friday? That's too specific and not neutral enough. And the answer should always be yes, Mary. Go on blind dates.
Okay. No, I don't know about that.
Also, be positive. Don't think the cards are going to tell you doom and gloom, because then the cards will tell you doom and gloom. Okay, so I don't have anybody on Facebook, and I'm kind of sad about that. Huh?
I didn't
Yeah,
see it pop up on there.
Well, it says we're live.
Yeah, but it didn't pop up on my side either.
I'm going to tell Rachel chat.
Because I have a tablet.
No, look on Facebook.
I checked. I put in Rachel chat.
Thank you.
I thought you were sharing because you said you're setting up for it.
Okay, cool. But you see it?
I didn't see it pop up on my Facebook.
Do you see it on our Facebook? Okay.
No.
It says you're live.
Okay, it says I'm live. I got 4 people on YouTube.
I can't even find it.
Go to my page. And it should say I'm live there.
Because I went. Let me try it again.
You let me know when you're ready to start the reading.
Okay. 1 sec.
It says I have 4 people watching on YouTube, and only 2 of them have said hi to me. For those of you who want to know what I'm doing, I'm shuffling the cards with the intent of reading my friend Mary, who's on the phone with me, because social distancing. The reason I turn the cards is so that way I don't have the cards all facing the right way, or the same way. Gives you a more even reading. And I do it about every other time, just to give us a nice, good mixture of what we're spinning here. And if you have questions at all about what we're doing, and can you put on your the ritual chat, just the Facebook page itself, and tag me, Sarah K. Blackthorn has started her live stream.
I'm going to share it. Wait, what?
On your Facebook page.
Yeah, so I'm going to share it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You made it more complicated.
I really did. I apologize. It doesn't need to be that complicated. Thank you. I know, and I'm not expecting a whole bunch of people because I did so much this morning with my testing for live stream, but you'd think that every test I did, I went, hey, I'm going to be live at 8. That would mean somebody would be ready to be here at 8, right? But that's fine. Okay. How you feeling? You think we're ready to read?
Almost.
Almost?
I've been feeling for you every time you doing that. That one.
We're good?
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, that one.
All right. So we start with this first card. This first card represents our questioner as she comes to us before any decisions are made and with all the decisions she's made to this point. This card crosses her. It's what stops her from progressing on the path she's chosen to be on. This card is the root of the matter. It is below her. It is where the base of everything this question answers starts. This is behind her. This represents the past that led her to this point. This is above her. These are influences in her life, regardless of where she's going, what she's doing. They just are. This is before her. This is the path leading to where she is, where she's headed. Influences that are not yet manifested, but the energies are just starting to show. This is how she sees her world, how her world sees her hopes and fears, and her first step on her next path. And I know YouTube's having just a little bit of trouble seeing that, and I apologize, but it looks like I have it good on Facebook. All right. Remember, if you have any questions, please ask. I will pause along the way. Mary, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
You guys show me the card because I can't see it on Facebook.
Yep. Okay. So our first card is Temperance upside down. Okay. So
Okay.
Temperance reversed. Temperance means moderation in all things. Temperance reversed means step out of your comfort zone and do what needs to be done. You come to us in a position of decision making and a plan to do exactly what this card says, throwing caution to the wind and pouring yourself wholeheartedly into something. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So this card crosses you. This card stops you from progressing on your current path. We read it as both positive and negative because sometimes it's the good things that stop us from progressing. And this is the 11 of Swords. And the 11 of Swords represents a man literally gathering swords and walking away. Thank you. Thank you. So the 11 of Swords generally means you have a plan, you're about to initiate your plan, and in this position, what's stopping you from working is you're so busy planning that you're not actually doing anything you plan.
Oh, God.
You okay? Oh, okay.
No.
Dr. Pepper and the wrong kind of gum. That's a thing. So what's stopping you from progressing is you're making all the plans and the planning and the plans and planning and more planning, and you're gathering everything to make the plan, but you're not actually doing anything about the plan. Forgive me, I was parched. Plans only work if you actually do something about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to do anything right now while we're being, quarantined.
Well, that's true. I will say that is the most common card I'm finding in this position is the haha, you're stalled. Because that's where we all are. Stalled. So this is the root of the matter.
Yep.
This is where everything about this question starts. This is the 10 of Wands. So, 7 of Swords and the 10 of Wands. Let's see, the Ten of Wands is all about gathering our things and sneaking off with them in the night. So you feel like you're abandoning things. You feel like to plan the plan and to move forward, you're abandoning people and places and things. And you feel like even though you've told everyone and everyone knows what's happening, you still feel like you're kind of sneaking away with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. This is behind you. This was what led up to the situation. The Knight of Cups. Oh my goodness. That's
What?
fantastic. The Knight of Cups. So the Knight of Cups, he does things because right is right, and I have to do what's right because it's right.
Okay.
Paladin.
Paladin, where do you run? I'm sorry, not sponsored. Okay, so it's an old TV show called Have Gun Will Travel. That was the title.
All right.
That was the theme song. And his name was Paladin. So paladins do what's right because it's right to do. And it's all emotion based. We have to do it because it's important to do it, and there's emotion behind it. And it's an entirely emotion based plan and movement, and especially the cups. Knight of Cups is all emotion, and there's no logic in it. Well, it's not that there's no logic in it, it's that they're ruled by their head and not, or their heart, not their head. So there you go.
Okay.
Now, this can represent you. This can represent the people in your life. I happen to know a little bit of what's going on in their situation, so I'm betting it's a combination of both. Just saying. I love you.
Okay.
This
I love you too.
is what's ahead of you. This is before you, above you. This is influences that are in your life and affect your decision making, even without an actual event attached to it. Okay. And this is the Page of Swords reversed. And the Page of Swords is a cocky young person who is rash and headstrong and makes all the decisions and then goes, oh, I probably shouldn't have done it that way. After it's been done, swords are always swords are air signs, so they're flighty and what was I doing? Right, yeah, dude, I totally should have done that. Yeah. That's pretty much me as a youth. That was very much of the I'm going to talk a lot.
Pretty much just.
And then my mouth is going to write checks. My body can't cash, and got in a lot of trouble. Yep, that's garbage. So you have these influences in your life that kind of make decisions and then go, here, I've made this decision. Fix it. And there's nothing you can do about that. That's just the way it's always going to be. That's why it's above you and not before you or behind you, because that's just something you're going to live with for the rest of your life. Which is weird because it's directly opposite of what these other cards are telling me. Because the other cards are going, well, yes, while I do things with my brain and I don't really, or my heart, and I don't really think it through, I also have to be sure that I'm not leaving people behind, and I do the planning and the planning and the planning and the more planning, and I have to do some more planning. And then you have this thing in your life that goes, we're leaving. And you're like, wait, I have to plan. And those two things kind of war at you.
Yeah.
So this is before you. So this is usually what balances or kind of cuts all of that tension there and makes it usable. Okay. Not always, but sometimes. This is the Nine of Cups. I really love this deck. It's very, very pretty.
It's not cocky either. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's like mediocre.
So the Nine of Cups is about creation and taking all the nervous energy and putting it into something. And cups usually means you're putting it in to drink or emotion-based things
Cup of
like
water, right?
yes, cups are water. And water's always emotion, but it's also the beginning and end of everything. We end in water. We begin in water. We end in water. Lots of people do this whole dust to dust thing because men were made of dust, but that's not true. People are born from the water of the womb, and when you die, your body kind of melts when it decomposes and reduces itself to liquid before it becomes dust. So water to water. We begin in water, we end in water. The Nine of Cups is really taking all of this energy and forcing yourself into a next step. Does that make sense? We good? Because that is the
Kinda.
beginning of your area here. Okay. We're about to move on to the branch of the cross.
Okay.
That kind of does this is how you see your world and how your world sees you and what your next step is. And where the
Okay.
cards or your subconscious or that kind of thing tell you where you should go from here. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So this first
Okay.
one, do you have any questions about the first half of this reading?
That last one,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
The Nine of Cups.
Yeah.
So the tarot numerology you have, the ace is all of the energy, and then the 2 is, hey, I have an idea of what to do with this energy, and then the 3 is like, I'm going to plan an idea, and then the 4 is, I'm going to gather the materials to have the idea, and the 5 is, how do I put this both together? And then 6 is, oh, hey, I have an idea of how to make all of that stuff work. And 7 is, I'm going to finalize plans and hammer them all into a thing. 8 is working on the plan, right? But the 9 is, I have the plan. The plan is working. The plan is, this is where we're going to head. And then 10 is, great, I did the plan. What's the next step? Right?
Okay.
So where you're at right now, because this is in the position of this is before you, you're at this point where you've got the plan. You're emotionally ready to enact the plan.
All right.
And your future is just to enact the plan.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So you're
Okay.
going to put your energy
Okay.
into, we're going to make this actually happen. We're done planning. We've got it planned. We've got these people going, we're going to do it. And you're going, but I'm not done planning. Okay, I really am. Let's just do it. And that's kind of where you're at.
Okay. Yep.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is how you see your world.
Okay.
Which is different than how I see my world. There was a Bing. He's making food. And that is the Page of Cups reversed. The Page of Cups is a selfish little person. So,
Oh,
yeah, but this is reversed. So, the Page of Cups, how you see your world. You see your world as, gosh, you constantly need to be on the watch for how other people feel and how everything you is going to make other people feel. Like all the time. And you're never sure you're doing anything right. Spend all your time questioning. I mean, don't feel bad. We all do. But that is what this tells me. And you are so emotion-based that everything you do is like, well, what if I do this and it hurts someone? And then how do I deal with that?
yep.
And so that's just everything in your world. All right, then I do this, and nobody can see anything because all they can see are those cards. It's kind of awesome. Nobody can see me
No.
flailing about today. I get a lot of comments about that, actually. People going, why do you flail so much in your video? I'm like, that's obviously you don't see me in real life because I just flail all the time.
How we talk.
I know it's how we talk. All right, so this is how your world sees you, which is sometimes very much harder than everything else we've talked about.
The video.
Can you? Only because he took his
No,
headphones
I
off.
can just hear it.
Oh, okay, just because you
Also-
can see it going.
Can I say one too?
All right. So, how your world sees you. I'm sorry, there was a distraction in my background. Oh my gosh, the King of Wands.
Stop.
Stop it, Tim. All right, so that goes there. Okay, and then over here, the King of Wands, upside right. Oh, that's beautiful. So
Smart.
your world sees you as this person who could just do what you want to do because you want to do it. Like you're in charge. Like if you wanted to do it, you'd just do it. So you give off a lot of confidence that you don't really feel. Because that's what the first card says is you go, I can't do that. It might hurt somebody's feelings. And everybody else goes, I don't understand what you're saying because you could just do it. Because you're an adult and you don't have any responsibilities and you're in charge, just do it. And that's not.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the king really is really interesting because the king is very much of the I do what I do because I do it. And Wands is fire, which is all creation and destruction. If I want to burn it down, I'll burn it down. You know. And you very much give off this laissez-faire, you can't tell me what to do attitude, but deep down inside you're going, I can't say that to somebody, it's going to hurt them.
That's
Which
true.
is awesome. I like it a lot. These are your hopes and fears. Again, we read both sides of this card because no one really wants what they actually think they want. Oh my gosh, Mary. So this is the Two of Cups. That's
I
amazing.
got a lot of cups.
You do. You have a lot of cups.
A lot of cups and swords.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're actually pretty balanced. I'd like to see some coin in here. You don't have any earth, so you're not really grounded right now. Which tells me you have a lot of things up in the air and you're kind of going, sure.
And you know that.
Yeah, I do. I do. So the Two of Cups means that you have a lot of emotional energy that you don't know what to do with. And you really hope you're doing the right thing. And you're really afraid that you're doing the right thing. Because on one hand, that would be really cool that if all this just worked the way it was going to work and everything was on the up and up and all this planning and this, I'm just going to make this plan freaking work because somebody told me I should, it's just going to equal out and it's not going to bother anybody and everything's going to be fine. On the other hand, you are terrified that everything's going to work out the right way and you're going to be thrown into this new thing with no idea what to do with it. And everyone's going to be okay with the fact that it happened that way. Because you have no idea what to do with that circumstance. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions before I turn the final card?
Nope.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is your first step on your next path. This is how you progress. Ooh. That's beautiful. So that is justice reversed. And that card says, Mary, for once in your goddamn life, do something for you. Just for you. Doesn't matter if it's fair. Doesn't matter if it's what should be. All of these cards go, yes, you can plan it. Yes, you can care what other people feel. You're not abandoning people. You are doing something healthy for you because it's good for you. And it doesn't matter whether or not that's fair. It's still good for you. Sometimes being fair is not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
I'm thinking.
Okay. All right. What do I have over here? Hi. I am good. Katie says hi. I hope you're well. I am doing well. I have people on Facebook saying hi. I say hi to, or on YouTube saying hi. I say hi to them. I'm glad I finally got people coming in here. We're just doing some readings today. We're talking about the history of tarot. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat and I will answer them. Mary, do you have any questions?
Yeah. So how do you personally feel things are going to go for me?
I think personally, and I have been doing a lot of thinking about this actually, I think you're going to get where you're going And it's going to be so different and so amazing that you are going to blossom in a way you've never understood that you should have. I think it's going to be a whole new world, and it's going to be amazing. And it's going to be the best thing that's ever happened to you, besides your children, of course.
Mhm.
I do. My friend Leah says it's okay to be selfish every now and then. Do you feel guilty because you're excited about it?
No,
Good. Are you excited about it?
no.
Are you afraid of it?
I'm not really afraid about it. I am getting used to it.
Good.
I'll get more nervous when it gets closer, whatever that is.
Yeah. 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 And
You know?
you don't mind if I talk about it, right?
No.
Okay. So what's going on here
You're
is my friend Mary, her youngest daughter is moving to Florida, and she has decided to go with her and leave her other two kids here and all her friends here and her life here. And that's terrifying when all your children are grown and you just decide to step out of the nest with one of them to across the country. But what they're building out there, because I've actually looked into things like this, is a really good life. They have an established business that they're opening, or they're taking over. And the girlfriend's fiance, or the daughter's fiance?
My daughter's
Boyfriend has a life
Family
just
member.
set up for him to walk into. And him and his girlfriend, they're just going to step in and take over. And they have invited Mary to come with them and build a new life, which everything in these cards tell me is going to be amazing if you let it be. And that is the hard part, letting it be.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, you may ask a question. I've got somebody asking a question. Please do. On YouTube, I have somebody asking if they can ask questions. Please ask questions. I love questions. And while you're typing out your question, I'm going to pull up these pictures or these cards. Are you ready for that? We good?
Yep.
Okay. You want to stick around? You want to end the call?
I'll stick around.
Okay. All right. So, like I said, or I was talking about earlier, if you were around, tarot cards became super, super, super popular in the 60s and 70s. It was large part of that transcendental movement. Know yourself, look within, that kind of thing. And then in 1970, the Thoth deck of Aleister Crowley was published based on photos of the original paintings. The original paintings were done long, long before that. But it wasn't until the Eden Gray book, the Complete Guide to the Tarot, which I have somewhere, that Hi, thank you for joining us. That describes the Fool's Journey. So the Fool's Journey, number 0 of the major arcana is the Fool. The idea is we are all individually the Fool. And our journey is the journey through the tarot cards. That is the idea of the... Oh, yeah, I have a new subscriber. Thank you so much for subscribing. We love you. The idea is that these cards from 0 in the major arcana through the end of the minor arcana are your journey through life. You go back and forth several times, step by step. Do a reading for me, LOL. Leah, no. I will do a reading for you, but not on stream and not right now. I actually have a new target.
You said target, now I'm scared.
Kai is volunteered to do one in person on stream for me. The reason I'm doing them this way, one over the phone and video, and one over stream or in person, is to kind of talk about the difference, because you always get those people who do the free tarot reading through email, blah, 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 blah,
I
blah.
don't trust them.
And we're going to talk about the differences here. I read Mary because when I first talked about going, I'm going to do a thing on tarot, Mary went, I volunteer. And that was awesome.
Yep.
And I jumped on that. However, and I know Leah well enough to have done it, to do it over Facebook as well. I called Mary earlier today. If she had chickened out, Leah was my next option.
Yeah.
But reading someone you don't know over the internet by pulling cards and going, I'm going to focus on this random name of nobody I know about, and pulling cards, I can tell you what the card means. Like I pulled the Hermit. The Hermit is a scholar who likes to be left alone, who believes that you can't really learn in a public setting. You have to learn in solitude. And I can tell you that regardless of who you are, there's that person in you who goes, I have to learn by experience and by being on my own. And you prefer to be on your own when challenged with a hard subject. That's cool. That doesn't tell me anything at all about myself or what that tarot card means to me or where. So doing a reading online is very hard and very taxing. And there's a reason that it took me, what am I looking at here? 41 minutes to walk through a tarot reading with Mary and a brief discussion of where tarot cards come from. I didn't even give her good detail. I read her because I knew what was going on. So, Katie, we will talk about tarot readings. I am totally willing to do tarot readings, but I'm going to tell you this really, really cool secret. It's been a very long time since I've offered tarot readings for free. I offer 2 a year, birthdays and New Year. I'm reading Mary because she volunteered and I need her. That's how it goes. Jay, Kai, person over there. Shuffle. Well, it doesn't even matter. You're going to take them over there and play with them until you think they're right.
Okay, I'll play with the cards.
And then I'm going to keep talking about tarot through the 70s and 90s.
Let's see if I can do this right.
Okay. If you want to, you can just on the table.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'll just
So,
mindlessly play with it.
In the 70s, it's where you saw things like the Aquarian deck. And then there was this great book published called The Devil's Picture Book. And this was the first book to put tarot into a Wiccan or pagan context. So that's pretty cool. Excuse me, I reach here. I have a screen up here that tells me that I have a new subscriber. And there it goes. Okay. What does Carolina... Okay. So I don't know who Carolina Catillo is. And I don't know what they think about you because I don't know who they are. And while I am that kind of psychic, that takes a very, very, very different kind of energy than what I'm live streaming right now. But we could do some card readings later if you private message me. And yes, you can find me on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and
Pretty much the same.
Pretty much everything, really. Not under Side Seat Gamer, though. You need to look up Serin Blackthorn. That's going to be your easiest way, and I will put that in the comments or the description when I post this video. But I absolutely do those kind of psychic readings because I am that kind of witch. So yeah, throughout the 70s, these kind of publications of let's do spin-offs of the original tarot, and let's do I talk about how it relates to paganity and gods and goddesses and that kind of thing, became very, very popular. And you find really cool old style tarot, especially if you go to your old bookstores. Powell's Book has an amazing tarot section. And that's where I got my first old deck of tarot. And it was called Mother Moon Tarot, I think. And they were round. And the artistry was obviously 60s and 70s. And it was very hippie, and I loved it. And then through the 80s and 90s, the golden age of small individually owned tarot magazines grew up, and you could find them pretty much anywhere. And anywhere you went into a bookstore and went, hey, I need tarot, and suddenly, boom, there was 80 decks, and they're crazy. And I was crazy back then because that's when I was in high school. And I, at one point in my tarot reading history, I had a total of 20 decks. And that is just craziness. And I need to catch up on my chat here. I'm sorry. I apologize to those people who are trying to talk to me, and I wasn't ignoring you, I promise. Okay. I don't mind paying as long as you're willing to work with my pay schedules. I can do that. Do you use Oracle cards too? Okay, so I personally don't use Oracle cards. Not that I don't like them. Hi, Lena. Just that I'm not as familiar with them as I am regular tarot. But I can read a deck of playing cards like I read tarot. So in the 1990s, you got a lot of, like, Llewellyn and the major publishing house started publishing tarot books and tarot and that kind of thing. In 1991, BATS, the Bay Area Tarot Symposium, was organized in San Francisco by Thalassa, which is a famous witch. This is Kai as she comes to the table. Crosses them. The base of the matter. Behind you. Above you. Before you. How you see your world. How your world sees you. Your hopes and fears. And your final outcome. Your first step on your next path.
Yes.
As she nods at me in silence. She's really good at this live streaming thing. She just kind of sits back there and quiet.
I'm not cocky today.
Okay. In the mid-1990s, the tarot community goes global thanks to the internet. And you start seeing things like alt_tarot and tarot_I from Yahoo. Pioneering discussion lists. You have fictional books based completely on the tarot. You have history of the occult tarot, which is terrible, which is where you actually find these things that this is ancient origins. There's not, I promise. 1325, the earliest mention. And that's the game Torochi, which is, hey, if I hold up this image, what does it say about me? They're really easy to use, in my own opinion. I also started studying playing cards too. Okay. And then 2002, the first Readers Studio was organized in New York by Ruth and Wald Amberstone, which, as I understand it, is an actual art studio kind of thing that just focuses on having many readers in the room at the same time. Like, you could just walk in and pick your reader and pay for it. It's cool. So I love my discussions about tarot. Tarot is like one of my favorite things to do. Later in May, we will be having a conversation about how to talk to the dead. And that is my other favorite thing to do. Okay.
I love it so much.
We're going to read
Is that rock?
Kai now. You ready? Yes, it is.
I was stepping on the hooks. And I was like,
Yeah,
that's weird.
Don't do that. Okay. Oh my God, the sun.
Wow, the last time I didn't have any major.
I know. And the sun. You are a bright, shining force in your own universe. You're starting to feel really good about yourself. That's really good. I really like that. Makes me so happy. Just that one card shows so much progress. We're going to show off the cards. Here we go. See, the sun is really beautiful here. It is literally the idea that in your world, you are able to take this idea of constant even through change. Does that make sense?
No.
So regardless of how much changes around you, you're able to go, but I have this. Or I am this. Or whatever it is about you or your life or whatever that goes, this is my constant, regardless of what moves around it. Okay? The sun.
Yes.
Okay. And that's kind of what brings you here where you are now. That past pain, past changes, past flux, past chaos, you're still here, you're still constant, you're still moving forward.
I'm surprising because I did make it past second grade.
This is what crosses you. This is what stops you from progressing.
Okay, I'm excited.
Oh, the Four of Swords. Oh my goodness, your own persecution. So the Four of Swords is the idea that there's always chaos over your head. And you spend a lot of time going, and I know I'm using a lot of personal knowledge here, but I promise it applies. You spend a lot of time going, well, I could do that, but it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what that card says. You're never going to progress as long as you're going, well, I could do that. It's not going to work. So I don't know why I should. Well, no, because you should. That's why. This is the base of the matter. So all this is going to be answered by this. All right. Wheel of Fortune, Jiminy Christmas.
I'm having another Arcana now. But,
So the Wheel of Fortune is all things happen for a reason.
that's what I believe.
And you have a path. And you can stray off the path.
Why?
But it's not going to work. It's also telling you that you need to stop going, why does this happen to me?
Like, wait.
I don't know why this happens. It just does.
Oh.
It doesn't matter why it happens. How are you reacting to it?
Okay.
When this happens, I should. Not, I don't know why this happens.
Okay.
Okay? This is before you. These are things that have brought you to here, but no longer necessarily matter, but are still influencing your outcome. Oh my God. So this guy's name is William. Okay. So this is the Five of Wands.
Oh my God.
And it is, remember when I was talking about there's energy, right? And the energy brings, like, the one is just raw energy. And then the two is, hey, I know what to do with that energy. Mm-hmm. And the three is, I'm going to begin to plan. I know what to do with that energy. And then the four is, dude, I'm going to make this plan work. And then the five is, you thought you were.
Okay.
So the Five of Wands is conflict. It is, you thought you were going to do what you needed to do. Wands is fire. Fire is creation and destruction.
Okay.
Okay. So you were totally like, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to do this thing. Crash and burn.
Uh-huh.
Which recently happened, by the way. Which is funny because that's behind you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much what those four cards are going.
Okay.
This is above you. These are just influences that are in your life, whether you like it or not. They're not attached to anything. They just are. Ooh. Ooh. So Jay just has this mystical money thing happening. No, I'm just kidding. It's not just money. It doesn't matter how poor you are. It doesn't matter how little you have. You always have. And that's a really good thing for you. You always find, you always have someone going, but I can help.
I have a lot of support.
And a lot of support. And that's not a thing to be taken lightly. And that's not a thing a lot of people have.
That's something you're really grateful for.
But you always know you have a cushion somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool. But that's a lot of this is going, hey, keep that in mind. Don't let this make you question this. This is before you. These are things that haven't happened yet, but their influences are starting to be felt. Woo. That is the Four of Pentacles. Have you checked your email today?
Yes.
Reversed. So this
Wait,
says the one that the IRS was supposed to send information to.
Yeah, they said I got rejected. There's an error, and I was going to go over that with you.
Okay, we should do that tonight.
Yeah.
So this says that it doesn't matter how much you hoard,
Okay.
or how much you have, or how much you go, look at all my splendid things. Because that's what he's doing. I have splendid things. You still have to plan the plan and do the thing to make the life work.
Mhm.
And material is not necessarily the end all be all. But I will say you have a really good balance of elements here.
I know. This is
I'm
the
happy
very
about
first
it.
thing. First
Usually
time.
we just go, we have a lot of fire. We're like,
Sometimes
stop
it's
it.
Air.
Sometimes it's air. But I don't see any cups, and that worries me. But hopefully they'll be here.
Some there, some. Need water now.
Are you ready to move on, or you got this?
Yes.
Okay. You ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
This is how you see your world.
All right.
That's
Ooh.
the Nine of Cups reversed. How you see your world? Well, I had a plan. It was emotional based. My mistake. That's what that says.
I fell too hard.
Right. So the Nine of Cups, like I said with Mary, is the idea that you have this plan and you're going to make the plan work and it's going to be super emotional. But reversed, it means, well, I had this plan. Not that I really had a plan, just that I had the inkling of a plan and it ran out like a cup upside down.
Oh, no.
So
It
your
took
world
over.
sees you very much of going, this is how you see your world. You see your world as going, while emotions are important, they don't actually stabilize anything.
That's kind of why I'm hesitant to move in now.
Yeah. It's not necessarily a good place to be, but I understand why you're there.
Yeah.
Has a lot to do with that guy.
Yeah. I wanna punch
But
him
that's
through
how
it.
you're seeing the world right now?
Yeah.
This is how your world sees you.
Okay.
Whew!
That's yours.
That is the Ten of Swords. That is very, very violent and graphic. Actually, it's not really. Those swords are all dream swords, just so you're aware. How your world sees you, the Ten of Swords. So you had this plan, and you thought it all out, and you thought it all out, and you thought it all out. Now what? Because your world sees you as, well, you did what you were thinking. So take the next step, because that plan's done. Now you're in a holding pattern. And nobody knows what you're planning.
Yeah.
These are your hopes, and not even you. These are your hopes and dreams, or your hopes and fears, and we read them as the same card because nobody really wants what they think they want. The Five of Cups.
I have cups now. Wow. Okay. I have every element.
You do, which is really actually very good. It means you're balanced.
Yay.
So the Five of Cups reversed means that you don't want to struggle with emotion. You hope that you're not going to struggle with emotion. And you also fear that you're not struggling with emotion.
Yeah.
Because it's all well and good to have a relationship where you don't fight. But it's not as good to have a relationship where you don't feel. And the struggling with emotions can be either.
Yeah.
So you need to start analyzing where you're actually at.
I'm trying.
I love you. This is your first step on your next path. Do you have any questions before I turn this card?
Yeah, can I have a hug after this?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Jay's going to be amazing. Look at that. Look at that. That is the Star. And that card, with this card and that card, say you're going to be fine. And while you're a constant in your own universe, your light doesn't have to shine all the time.
It's okay not to be okay.
It's okay not to be okay. But you're okay, even when you're not okay. And the Star is also a sign of initiation, which we did last month, and learning and moving into the spiritual out of the physical.
Okay.
So when you start to get down and out and about this and stressed about this and stressed about this,
Mostly this.
let's do more spiritual stuff.
Okay.
That's what the Star says. Your next step is to go, maybe I shouldn't be so focused on the physical. Maybe I need to step more into the spiritual. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
No.
Cool.
I understood all of them.
All right, they're really easy. Okay, so I'm just checking my chats here because they kind of go away if I'm not watching them. Dooba-dooba-dooba-dooba-doo. All right, so we are at 60 minutes and an hour, and I thank everybody for their new subscriptions and our new guests. And we are changing the time of our stream. I know usually we do 8 o'clock on Sundays. We will be moving to 5 o'clock on Sundays. So that would be 5 p.m. every Sunday from now on. Next week we are doing, I don't remember, let me look it up. I'm bad at this, I'm sorry. I know. So by this time next week, not only will I have my calendar up and running. I mean, my calendar's already up and running, but I had to remember my own website.
Is that kind of day?
It is that kind of day. But I will have my calendar up and running. I also will have a website with my own domain, and I'll get to add a whole bunch of stuff to it. And it will be sightseeingthings.com. So, oh yes, that is where we're at in the year, isn't it? Okay, let's talk about next week for a minute. I'm going to put that back over there so it doesn't freak out. Okay, so next week is the last weekend of April and the first weekend of May, kind of. Does everybody know what that means? Anyone? Anyone?
May 1st.
May 1st. What's May 1st? Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry.
What?
Mayday.
Where does May Day start? And that's what we're going to be talking about next weekend.
But there's a Mayday. What's Mayday?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's actually known as Beltane. Oh. The Christians made us change
Go
the
around
name.
the pole.
Oh.
Yes, you dance around the pole. Do you know what the pole
Oh,
means?
Oh, it's that thing.
It is.
My
Do you know what
gosh,
the
I was
pole
gone
means,
for
Mary?
2 years. I would have known what that was.
I had read about it, Ida, but I don't remember anymore.
Isn't it
Cool.
a celebration of something?
The pole represents a penis.
It's a celebration of something.
It is a celebration of the Earth's fertility. In the old days, they
Okay.
used to light bonfires. They had like 2 giant bonfires, and they would drive the livestock through them, and then they would have the children walk through with bags of seeds, and then couples would walk through them,
You told me this last
and
time.
it would and then it would bless the fields and the people and everything, and then there were lots and lots of babies born 9 months later.
Oh, baby.
Yeah. But yeah, so Beltane is the second of the fertility rituals. And we will be talking about how to celebrate a fertility ritual, but we will not actually be walking through a fertility ritual because no one in this house needs a fertility ritual.
What? A baby?
Number one, you can't have a baby. Your significant other's a girl.
Dude,
And I do not care how many times you and your significant other do anything. That is not going to produce a child.
who said I'd be using her?
All right, well, whatever. And 2, you can't have a child because we don't have room in this house for another child.
Shh. Oh, baby. And giggles. And nutmeg. And nutmeg have friends.
So, yes, fertility. Well, we will be discussing fertility and what it means and all of the different rituals that go with Beltane, because Beltane is supposed to be an entire weekend, and only one night of that weekend is about fertility. Well, it's all about fertility, but only one night of that weekend is about sex. So we will be discussing fertility ritual and what May Day means and how it became May Day rather than Beltane, and where the term Maying comes from, why they call it the lusty month of May.
That explains so much.
Yeah. Why April showers bring May flowers.
No, I'm just
Because that's an
thinking about
entire
how
statement,
your son
too.
is more of a horny bastard, though.
Because he was born in May.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that's an entire thing. So we will be doing a Beltane stream next Sunday at 5 p.m. I'm going to post it all over my Facebook and every social media you can find me on. And then, right after Beltane, on Sunday, May 3rd, we're going to talk about Cinco de Mayo and whether or not it's a real holiday.
It's not.
And here's a spoiler alert: it's not.
It made me really mad.
It's really not.
It made me so mad when I found out.
They call it the War of Pastries. So
It's supposed to be about pastries.
it's supposed to be about pastries. I hope you guys, if you have any questions, you're going to go to sideseat.webs.com and post them in the contact. It will email me, and then I will, if you have any questions whatsoever, even the what does Carolina cut, I can't really read it. It's really far away. Catanijo? Think about me. Okay? Sideseat.webs.com. Contact me. Okay? It'll email me all your questions. We'll talk about how to do this. For those of you who want readings, that kind of thing, private message me on Facebook. You can find me at Sarah, SARRA, K Blackthorn with an E at the end, .com. I'm just kidding. Don't go to blackthorn.com. It's a bad website. It's actually a construction website. Yeah, and not supported, but would love to be. Anyway, so like, subscribe, hit the button, ring the bell, tell your friends, spread the word. Boost the signal, because you can't stop the signal, Mal. And until next time, I love you all. Thank you for the new subscriptions. I hope to hear from you soon. Go to the website. Check me out. Find me everywhere you can find me. Private message me, email me, leave me messages
Everywhere.
Everywhere you can find me, leave me messages. You can find me under Seren Blackthorn, Seer_Blackthorn on Twitter.
I don't know all your ads.
Pretty much it's Sarah Blackthorn. If you can find me, find me. I love you all, and I will see you next weekend. Unless I decide to live stream on Friday, in which case it'll be Side Seat Gamer. All right, bye-bye. And that ends that one.